Okay, so Tony decides, hey, let's give this thing a test drive, except it's a test flight, and he actually flies around. And I have to admit, even still today, it's a little bit of a cool sensation to see him flying around. It's that thought of, flight in that way. Not airplanes necessarily, not helicopters or anything, but just by yourself, just flying around. It's kind of, it's a little bit of that Superman feel. The way Superman, had that moment, those moments when Superman would fly around, like his flight with Lois Lane and stuff. That still today can be goosebump and chilling, if you're in the mood, if you're in the mindset. And this, just that whole idea, that's so cool. And then there's a scene where he goes to a fundraiser. And here in this fundraiser at the, I think it's for the firefighter or something at Disney Concert Hall. Funny enough, guess who owns Marvel now? Disney. Even though Marvel pretty much produced this by themselves. We get the Stan Lee cameo as, I guess, Hugh Hefner. I guess that was the joke. And it is the joke. What am I saying guess for? It was funny. And Obadiah Stane's there, and and then eventually we get a little part with him toward the end. But he goes in, and here's Pepper. What's she doing here? And we see her in this dashing blue suit. I think that's what the quote was. Okay. And she knows a little bit about Tony's arc reactor a little bit because I forgot to mention this, but yeah, there's that part where she takes the old reactor out, and it's kind of like like Tony said, it's like Operation. You just can't touch the sides. And then he puts in the new, she puts in the new one, and he's good as new or whatever. And then I like that little part where she gives him the gift and says, proof that Tony Stark has a heart. And they have the old arc reactor. That's kind of cool. Anyways, so then at this fundraiser, he runs into that same lady from the beginning, and we see a little bit of a romantic side to Pepper and Tony. They almost kiss and stuff, and it's kind of that weird, awkward relationship that's really well written and really well played out by Downey Jr. and Paltrow. And then that same lady comes back from the beginning and says, here, this is happening in Golmira. And Stark's like, hey, that's where Yinsen came from. That's close to where I was being held. And he looks, and they've got weapons and stuff. And he's like, how did they get those weapons, because all the weapons that I had, that were mine, that were with me when I went over there, I blew them up when I left. And he talks to Stain about it, and he says, are we dealing under the table? And then Stain says, let's just take pictures. That should have been it. We kind of saw it coming. A little bit. Just with, even from the opening scene that he's in, the way he just so mockingly almost plays along with everybody smiling at Tony's, big moment where he, took that big step up and became the head of Stark Industries. And, instead they have more stuff. They have dramatic music whenever he's on screen and stuff after that, and it just goes overboard. We know he's the villain now. Why do you keep doing this? When I was 12 years old, I was sitting in the theater, I was like, okay, he's the villain. And then later on, I was like, why would you do this? Why send all this dramatic music up and make it totally necessary for us to say, oh, he's the villain? We know. Thank you, Jon Favreau. Thank you, writers of this, who I don't know because I couldn't, the DVD I have doesn't list all the stuff on the back like they usually do. And then he goes to Golmira in the Mark III, which he builds and has all the, he says the Hot Rod Red. So awesome. I love that, by the way, just the way he comes up with that idea. It's actually kind of neat. This way it's almost like a spontaneous, hey, Hot Rod Red, that'll work. And then it just looks so cool when everything gets put on for the first time, at least. Even though today it's like, oh, look at that CG, it's a little obvious. But still today you say, oh, look at that CG, it's just a little obvious. Still, it's kind of that cool moment where he first suits up, he looks ready for action, he goes to Golmira, saves family, and there's kind of that moment where father and son are reunited because the father is being, he's called a dog by these terrorists, I guess. The Ten Rings is the name of the kind of the terrorist group, and they say, "Here, let's shoot this guy, shoot this dog," and Tony stops him, and father and son are reunited, and you kind of get that. I wish they could have. If I was directing the movie, what I would have done is add a shot of Stark. Oh, there we go. A shot of Stark, looking at them and kind of like looking away, like, I sure wish that could have been me and my dad, And it doesn't happen. But then he gets shot down by a tank. Tank, he's like, "Frick you, tank!" Blows the thing up. I was laughing so hard in the theater, just the way he casually like, and then he just turns away. That was still funny back then. So then the army's looking over this, or I should say the armed forces are watching over this, and they say, "Hey, look at that! We didn't have people over there. What's going on?" They check with all the the branches of the military, and they're like, "Nope, wasn't us, wasn't us, wasn't us, wasn't us." Then Rhodey says, "Maybe that was Stark, because that was right where he was being held, close to it, anyways." And we get this kind of cool scene where he talks with Rhodey, and at the same time he's being attacked by two Whiplashes, two Jets, who are after him for what he did. And it's still today, I think, one of the definitive action scenes for Iron Man. Okay, anyway, so then, Stark starts flying away, flying back home, and he has this conversation with Rhodey. And, this is a really entertaining action scene. It moves the story forward. Rhodes now knows that, Stark is Iron Man. Or, later to be called Iron Man, rather. Anyway, so, then, yeah. Obadiah has a scene over in Gulmira or around there, and he kills Zara and, or hang on, Zara. I couldn't remember what the character's name now. It's Zada, something like that. See, even I forgot it. I'm not writing this in the script either. I swear to God. For a second there, I'm forgetting what the guy's name is. That's how kind of unimportant he is to the script. And yeah, he kills him, and instead of all the big dramatic scene, it's like, we know he's the villain. Why is this scene necessary except for the fact that he's killing this guy? Instead, they have this big build-up to who's behind the car door. It's Obadiah? What's he doing here? And it's all this Scooby-Doo crap. I swear to God, it's like we're dumbfounded. It's like we're being fed candy, instead of popcorn, it's candy, and well, whatever. Anyway, so then Stark becomes, we see just a brief little clip here. And it's really well expressed by Pepper. And it's kind of weird the way the movie kind of shies away from this. A little bit. And it doesn't ever bring it up again. Not through Iron Man 2, at least. Maybe Iron Man 3 gets into it a little bit. Where, the whole thing is, well, let's see. Pepper says, I can't remember what the line is. Something like, you're becoming worse than you were, and Stark's like, no, it's the next mission and nothing else, and that's a great quote, and that's a great quote for his character, He starts out here with, I'm this playboy, get drunk every other weekend, whatever, and now he's dead serious. There's people out there, they're doing bad things, I gotta stop them, I gotta do my best to save all these innocent people around the world. And Pepper basically says, you'll kill yourself if you keep doing this. And she quits her job. And then Stark says, can you do one more thing for me? And asks her to hack in and just confirm, yes, that Obadiah is the villain. Because the audience needs to freaking know! Because we're so confused. Is Obadiah the good guy? Is he the bad guy? If he's dealing under the table, if he's killing bad guys, and he, killing bad guys just to get him out of the way, I think he's the villain. Thank you very much, Tony.